Hey guys, welcome to Coding After 30. I hope you guys are doing great. Trying a new format here, and I hope you guys like it. So I want to start doing more coding live type of things where we work on a project together. And I'm not going to do like super beginner, but at the same time, if you guys have questions about what I'm doing, you could ask. And I just want to do that because I want to practice more coding, and I want to give you realistically what it looks like when someone's unprepared. Basically, when you're starting out and you're coding, it's not like you see in tutorials where people just able to, go through the code with you and everything works magically. Usually that's not how it works. Usually stuff breaks. Usually you have to read stuff, look at the documentation. So I want to start on a project kind of like your cornerstone project. So if you're looking to get hired, and by the way, let me know in the comments if you guys could hear me. And again, I don't expect too many people to watch this stream because it's a new stream, but at the same time, if you're here, it's amazing. So let me know in the comments if you guys could hear me. If not, let me know so I can fix it. Make sure the music's not loud. But anyway, I want to work on a project together live and kind of talk about, what it is that I'm building. And at the same time, talk about this idea that at the end of the day, when you're looking to get hired, you do need to have a big cornerstone project to showcase, which should cover a wide variety of skills that you need to demonstrate to a potential employer to get a job. And let me say hello quickly to people here. We got HG Global. What's up? We got Brian here. Hey, Brian, good to see you. And sounds good. Thank you. So again, this is a new stream that I'm trying to start a format. And what's cool about it, if you don't watch it live, you can always come back and watch it later. But I want to talk about kind of working through a project, and not just any projects, but thinking about like building your cornerstone project, the project that you could show to potential employers in your portfolio that going to look at it and be like, wow, this guy did an amazing thing. And it depending where you want to get a job, but at the end of the day, you do need to have one awesome project. And sometimes when we're starting out and we're learning, we're not even sure what that is. And that's going to be the whole point of these streams, is to kind of get going to a point where we are able to figure out what that is, figure out where to start, and hopefully these videos will show you how to get there. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to quickly show you a quick project that I'm working on. I had another project I was going to show you, but I updated it and things just broke, so I have to go back fixing. But this is the current project that we have. And I like Dev Mentor Live here, build a blog, and that's actually 100% really good idea. Like, I've done a blog before, so I'm going to take it to like a slightly different level, but 100% like that Dev Mentor Live said here, build a blog. Blog about what you know, and that's 100% true. And if you're looking to break into the field and start with development, you want to build authority in your field, and the best way to do it, even if you don't have the knowledge, let's say right away, to build a blog, start a blog and then write about what you're learning. And then when you're able to build a blog and write about what you're learning. But this series is going to be about kind of me working on the tech that I'm using for my current project, and most of this video is going to be me getting stuck and hopefully figuring out how to get unstuck, because I'm not some expert and amazing developer. I like this, Dev Mentor, you're putting a lot of stress on me. Excited to see this video, Paul. Listen, you make the best tutorials, and I tell people, if you want to learn how to code, go check out Dev Mentor Live, because you do put out some of the most amazing stuff. And like, I'm definitely not anywhere near your caliber of coding, but at the same time, I don't want to hide behind like, at home and not do anything. I want to put out and do stuff live so I could practice making mistakes live. I could practice figuring things out, and at the same time, give you guys a realistic expectation of what real coding is. It's not like you sit down and all of a sudden you have a working application, but you sit down and you run into a lot of problems. Like the app that you see on the screen now is not the one I want to show. I'm going to show you this one. Why? Because the other one that I had, I updated something, it broke, and I tried to update it 5 minutes before the show, and apparently 5 minutes is not enough time for me to fix it. So I'm going to show you another app. But the whole point is, what I want to talk about, a lot of people make simple UI projects. There's nothing wrong with that. Or they make a tic-tac-toe game. But at the same time, I feel like you should have one cornerstone project that demonstrates your level of skill, that when you look at it, not only are you proud of it, but at the same time, other people could find some utility out of that project and do something with it. So in this case, I was thinking of doing some sort of project management application, which will have authorized users. Different users could be part of different organizations, and each organization has different like projects, different tasks and things you could do. So that's what we're going to do. That's 100%. That meant they're dropping some good knowledge here. You know, like I like the go power 100%. Don't lose. You don't lose until you stop getting up. That's 100%. A lot of you guys, I remember my last stream, we talked about kind of, you know, reviewing portfolios, and you know, and when I give feedback to people, I'm going to be honest. And the fact that sometimes, like when you get feedback that you don't like it, or it doesn't sound pleasant, because nobody likes to hear like, oh, your thing is not the best code you wrote, you could write it better, or your project is broken, it doesn't work. Like I have plenty of examples of broken projects, but the point is you only lose if you quit. So the only time people don't become developers if they stop trying. Like the only reason I'm able to sit here in front of you talking about stuff is because I just refuse to stop. You know, I refuse to give up. And, you know, I try to find the best like resources to learn from, but most importantly is putting things into practice. And if you guys are looking for great resources, since we have Mark from Dev Mentor Live here, if you haven't checked out his channel, go check out his channel. He does one-on-ones. And by the way, if you guys want to do some one-on-ones with him, he's like, if I were to do one-on-ones, he would be the guy that I would do it with. You know what I mean? That's just the key, the fact. That's who I would go if I were to do one-on-ones, because the guy is very knowledgeable. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about. And so like, that's what I would like, you know, would recommend for people to go. Find a good mentor. But more importantly though, build stuff on your own, because at the end of the day, I will tell you this right now, if you're not failing, you're not hitting the wall, you're not, you know, try to figure things out yourself, you're not going to learn them as quickly. And that's a very important part to remember. And yeah, the best feedback is the feedback you don't like. Everything else is leaving your own farts and pontificate on you. Yeah, right. That's just like 100% why I want to do this stream, because number one, there's going to be beginners that might want to hear what I, like the trouble that I have. But at the same time, I'm going to have people like Dev Mentor Live, when they could make it here, they could kind of give feedback when they can. Or other people on the stream could be like, hey, you know, why did you do it this way? I could see if I have an answer. Or they could be like, hey, you know, this is another better way of doing it. But hey, listen, you're not interrupting. And the point is, it's, I don't even know what I'm going to do with this video. Well, you're just going to build something. But the point is, I want to engage with everybody. I want to talk to everybody, because at the end of the day, I want to do more live coding. I don't want to make videos just about, you know, the lifestyle of coding. And that's because my goal right now is to become a better developer. And so I want to do more development type of stuff. Not saying that making videos about the lifestyle of coding or the day in life of a developer or stuff like that, those do much better on YouTube. So I don't even expect this video to do the best on YouTube, but I personally just want to do coding more, because that's how I make majority of my money, getting paid for coding. So that's what I'm going to kind of, that's the sword I'm going to sharpen first. And maybe one day I'll have some drone footage for you. And here's a question from Alex. Any good places to find wireframes or mockups? I go to ThemeForest, themeforest.com. You could check it out. They have a lot of great mockup designs, a lot of great stuff. And if you're a solo designer and you're working on stuff, there's no shame in buying a design. There's no shame of going to like a website like ThemeForest and buying some templates. And so I'll throw this on the screen here, screen share. So this is ThemeForest. You could go in, they have WordPress themes, they have HTML themes, they even have Photoshop, you know, Photoshop mockup themes. So they got plenty of stuff. You could do like, you know, XD mockups, mocks, I don't know, I can't spell. And then you're going to get like a list of stuff. I know that weird, loaded weirdly, but it has a lot of Adobe XD websites. See, plenty of themes for you guys to either get a mockup and then practice coding it yourself with HTML and CSS, or being able to, you know, just use what you got. Now, because I'm by myself and I'm talking about this idea of building your cornerstone app, and I'm not saying building a full stack completely. Like for instance, I'm going to cheat. And what I was going to talk about, and I'll just jump into this example here. I have this application that I started. It's not done. I think test user is a user. I don't know. But you could log in, and there's the whole point is like you want to have some sort of authentication. You want to have some idea of data that's private to that owner. So for instance, I'm part of these three organizations: Epic Cakes, Coding After 30, and UX Monkey. And then you see all these different tasks that I have. And again, this is not a completed application, but it's work in progress. I could add a task, forgive this UI. I don't really care about the UI at the moment here. This form could be better. But the point is you want to create like a more complex app that is, covers this idea of different users, authentication, this idea of content that you're able to see or not able to see. And this is going to be done in React. And the reason why this is going to be done in React, because I feel still, we have different thoughts about it, DevMatter and I, because he really likes Next.js, and I love Next.js too. But the reason why I'm doing this in React right now is because, number one, this is a backend type application, whatever you call it, a dashboard type application. So I don't need it to be online. This is something that for I don't want it to be discovered online. You know what I mean? So I'm not worried about the greatest SEO for this application. Number two, I want to talk about more traditional ways that are commonly used with React to build an application. I want to talk about obviously using React, talking about React routers. We are going to do GraphQL. Why are we using GraphQL? Because that's something I'm learning, and that's something I'm currently using at my job. And so I want to get better at it. And we're going to cheat. Instead of creating a backend from scratch, we are going to use Strapi as a backend. And what's cool about Strapi, you could set it up as a REST API. So if you're learning about REST API, Strapi is a good tool to come up with something. And then when you start learning about GraphQL, Strapi is great for GraphQL. Like for instance, they have this great GraphQL background where you could query and practice getting data. And GraphQL is awesome. You could talk more on the detail about why I chose why GraphQL is awesome. But basically, I'm telling you guys, we're gonna create this project with the technologies that I'm using at work. And so the reason why I'm doing this is because I have a job. These are the technologies I'm using. I want to get better at these particular technologies, and so that is what we're going to do. So this is the application that I'm building. I'm not gonna show you how I built this, but I'm gonna show you how to start a whole new project that you could start with me here. I'm going to talk about the technologies that I'm using, and the idea here is that you follow these videos, and I'm going to have my project to kind of show you what I'm building for myself, but then I'm going to have a general side project that I'm going to set up with you guys. That way everybody could do it. If you guys have questions about it, you could ask questions about it. But more importantly, I want you guys to build something that you are going to kind of be able to call your own. So let me log out here. And this is like what I'm talking about, this idea, like I'm an authenticated user, I'm part of these organizations. If I log out and I log in, let's say Azaria, she, as you could see, when I log in, she's only part of the UX Monkey organization, and she only gets to see those details that are particular to her organization. So if I log out again and go to test user, I gotta come up with better names. I bet you guys could guess what the password is. Notice how I'm part of Aria's organization, UX Monkey, but I'm also part of these organizations. So that's what I want to talk about when you're creating a cornerstone project. What you want to do is you want to create something that kind of shows a little bit more complex things than just the basic CSS and HTML template, but has some sort of utility functionality. So blog is good. The time tracker is good. Bug tracker is good. This project management app that I'm doing is a good idea. And yeah, and thanks for thanks for all the good vibes, DevMentor Live, Mark. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me when I get good feedback from you. The best justification, get paid, baby, get that movie check, 100%. And by the way, I want to be a better developer. That's why I'm going to be doing these development live streams, even though they don't do well on YouTube. And if you want to become a better developer, go watch people like DevMentor Live, who has a lot of good live coding stuff. Watch a lot of programmers, developers who happen to have YouTube, rather than watching YouTubers that happen to talk about coding. That's the best way to get there, and that's the best way to do it. You can ignore me, Paul. My comments are for your awesome viewers. Bro, I love your comments. I really appreciate your support. Like, I will never, like, dude, you're an awesome dude. And we definitely got to do a stream where we talk code and drink some good, like, whiskey or something. That'll be amazing. I love the highlights and the inputs. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's really awesome. And hey, Hamza, welcome, welcome, welcome. And so, anyway, talked about this cornerstone project idea, and so that's what we're going to talk about. So the first thing we're going to do is, when you're building something, you want to talk about this idea of scope. You want to talk about what are you going to build, what is it going to do. And so, believe it or not, you should not start with coding. And for the sake of this video, I'm not going to go through the whole process. I'm just going to talk about it. But you should start with an idea on paper. Just try a few things out, like draw like your UI and think like, what does your app have to do? You have to kind of have an idea what you're building. Now, I'm cheating a little bit because I'm going to build a time tracking or project management app. So there's plenty of resources online that have examples of that, like Asana is one. There's another one, and I kind of have an idea. But if you don't have an idea what to build, that's where you start. So in a nutshell, this is what we want to do. Number one, we want to have this idea that there's going to be logged in users, and they're only going to be able to see the stuff that they're allowed to see. So this concept of logged in user authentication. And the most basic thing that I want to do, and I'm going to kind of come back to this app on the screen right now, is that instead of going too crazy, I just want to start from the beginning. First of all, we want to set up our basic project. Number one, I want to have this idea of a logged in user. And number two, I just want to be able to have this concept of organizations or clients or whatever you want to call them. And so to test this idea, we're going to do the bare minimum required to set it up, where we could have users on the back end, we could have an organization on the back end, and we could get that data on the front end, and then eventually we could add that data on the front end. Like, for instance, let me show you by this example here. For instance, again, don't mind the UI too much. I'm still work in progress, but let's say I'm working on mockup or get design. I could add a task here, and let's say it's a step, do something. I can't spell when I think. Do something thing, and then blah 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 blah. So when I add the task, notice this task gets added here. Wherever I added it here, it gets updated in the UI. And so we basically want to go through the basic CRUD application. We want to be able to create data, add stuff to the database. We want to be able to update entry. We want to delete stuff, and we want to read. We want to query stuff. So we're going to start with the most basic thing that's possible, and we're going to go through, first of all, what we want to build, and pretend this doesn't exist. Pretend this is a mock-up. Pretend this is a Photoshop file. So this is what we want to build. We want to build a backend for a project management website. We know that we want to have this concept of a user. We know we want to have a login screen. We know that on the left side, we want to have a view of all of our organizations that we belong to. Then on the second column, I guess, we want to have this idea of projects that we're working on. And then each project, I got to rename this, or portfolio, I guess. I got to rename it to make more sense. But imagine projects. This is going to be the project, and then here it's going to be the task view for the project. So basically that's what we want to do. We have the mock-up. So once you kind of know what you want to build, let's think about what we're going to do once we know what we're building. Well, we want to select the technology that we're going to use, like whatever it is. You want to use C#? Great, use C#. You want to use Python and Django? Great, use Django. But what you want to do is you know what you're going to be building. Now pick and choose the technologies that you want to build. Now here's the thing, once you choose the technologies you're going to build, you can't change it. You can't change scope. You got to keep it what it is, and you got to just say, I committed to use React. I'm going to stick with React all the way until the end. And so right now what we're going to do, we're going to briefly go through what technologies we're going to use and why. And short answer is because this is what I'm using at my job currently, and so that's what I want to get more practice with, and that's what I'm using, and that's the reason why I chose these technologies. And what's cool about it is the stuff that I'm talking about, this is what companies are hiring for. And so we're going to start with, obviously, the tech we're going to use here. It's going to be React. Let me switch screens here. So we're going to be using React. A great place to read up, and you guys should practice reading that documentation. It's very important to not just watch tutorials, but it is very important to read stuff and read the documentation. So if you ever get lost, one of the places to go to is to react.js.org, hit their docs and read through the docs, right? All their up-to-date information will be here. You know what I'm saying? So we're using React. Now, as much as I love writing HTML and CSS myself and creating layouts, there's nothing wrong with using Bootstrap. And in our case, we're going to use something that's particular to React. We're going to be using React Bootstrap, which allows you to use some of these pre-built components. Now, if I was not by myself, I was not one person, I would like to make a lot of this stuff myself, but at the same time, for the brevity of time, I don't want to recreate the wheel. So I'm going to go ahead and use React and Bootstrap. And man, we got Jose jumping in here. Hey, Jose, welcome to the stream. By the way, guys, if you didn't smash the like button, smash the like button. Let me know that this is the type of videos you want to watch, because YouTube doesn't think people want to watch videos that talk about actual coding, actual programming. YouTube thinks you guys want to watch a video of me standing next to my fancy car that I don't own. You want to see drone footage fly by my house and me like telling you good things. But I want to talk about code. I want to tell you what I'm doing. I want to build stuff. I want you to build stuff, because at the end of the day, like, the way to get a job is to be able to showcase your skill. The way you showcase your skill is by having an amazing portfolio. And the way you have an amazing portfolio is by getting good at coding. And so I don't mind putting myself out there. Like, I'm going to tell you 100%, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to mess up. I know a week from now, 2 weeks from now, a month from now, 2 months from now, I'm going to look at this project that we're going to build together and be like, what the hell did you do, Paul? But the point is, don't be shy. Don't be afraid. Start somewhere and go from it. So we know what we're building. And for those of you who are jumping in here, and by the way, guys, if you didn't smash the like a button, smash that button so we could have YouTube promote me to other amazing YouTube people like you, because you guys are amazing community, and I love everything that you guys bring to the table here. So let's share the love, let's share the likes, let's share everything. So coming back here, let me go back to our mockup here, or my design that I already started. But this is what we're going to be creating. We're going to be creating, and we're going to make it look different than this. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But this is what we're building. We're building a project management tool, which will have this concept of users, this idea of or projects that you're working on under each project, or this could be teams, it could be like whatever you like. And then you're going to have different items that you're working on. Those items will have tasks that will be displayed in this beautiful grid here. I'm going to talk about all the things that we're using, and honestly, a lot of the stuff we're just going to use the power of the internet and not create stuff ourselves. So number one, we're using React. Next, we're using React Bootstrap for styling, because all of these components are already pre-built. The beauty of this is that you could just, instead of recreating stuff yourself, you could just use React Bootstrap to quickly get started. You know, they have buttons. And by the way, the reason why I say Bootstrap is because, believe it or not, there's many people and companies that still use Bootstrap. Currently at my job, our UI is built with Bootstrap. It doesn't look like Bootstrap because we use Bootstrap as the foundation, and then we apply our own styling. But it allows us, because it's a team of literally 4 developers, it allows us to build the MVC as quickly as possible. And that's basically what I'm in charge of, building this MVC, so we could bring it as quickly as possible to the investors that could look at it and be like, okay, this is great, let's go for it. And so using stuff like Bootstrap and to not worry about UI is a great way to save time. So that's what we're using. We're using React Bootstrap for our styling. We're also going to do React Router. So if you're doing so React, by the way, and a lot of people, me included, always say, you know, framework. React is not a framework. React is a library. And that's why, like, if you want something more complete, just like Dev Mentor Live says, like Mark says, doing Next.js is better because it has everything prepackaged nicely. You don't have to worry about these additional things. That's not what we're doing. We're doing React, and because React is a library, it doesn't have all those things that you want, so we kind of have to pick those things ourselves. So React doesn't have native routing. They have this library, React Router. That's what we're going to be using. There's a lot of great examples. So again, when you're learning, the best place to find information is to go through the documentation. So we're going to be using React Router to do our routing. We're going to be using Strapi for our backend. Strapi is amazing, and if you're starting out learning to code, there's no sense of trying to go full stack right away. Unless you want to be a backend developer and you hate the front end, then yeah, okay, I get it. You got to do backend. But for our cases, we're starting this idea of a front end developer. We want to get practice working with an API on the back end, and we want to slowly ease our way into backend development. So instead of building it ourselves, we're going to rely on Strapi. What's awesome about Strapi is that it's fast to get started, but if you want to dive deeper, it gives you hooks that you could hook into their controllers and write your own custom controller code, which is what you would normally do when you're creating your own API. They do kind of abstract away how they connect to a database. That is all handled for you, which is nice. You don't have to worry about it. So that's what we're going to use for this. Now, there's this idea of REST API. There's this idea of GraphQL API. If you've never used GraphQL, this is amazing because this is where we're going to use GraphQL for this project, because it's amazing, because it allows you to get the data that you want, by writing queries. Basically here, like if this was a REST API, like I have this concept of an asset, right? I have this concept of a task, and then I have this concept of assigned tasks, right? If this was REST API, I would have to make 3 different requests to get this data. I would have to make a request to assets to get the assets. Then I would have to get the tasks based by ID to the asset that I connected, and then I would have to get assigned tasks for a particular user. There'll be 3 different requests that I would have to make to the REST API. With GraphQL, I just make 1 request, and and I get the data that I want. It's really amazing. It is nice. Like, for instance, I could just start with a query. You know what I'm saying? Start with a query here, and I want to get tasks. Okay, this will bring back all the tasks. I want to get the IDs for the tasks. Who is the task assigned to, and I could get, the user's name. I could get their ID. Okay, maybe I want to get, the description for it. I have access to it in 1 request. So we'll talk more about it, but basically just take my word for it. GraphQL is amazing. And look, I could go ahead here, run this query. Oh yeah, it's forbidden because I didn't log in and authorize this. I have to go into headers here, add my token, which let's forget about that for now. We'll come back to this. So the reason why it didn't go through for me is because we are only allowing authenticated users to be able to get that data. So because I didn't add my token here, it didn't work, but that's basically what happens here, right? And so GraphQL is amazing. We're going to use it for a database. We're going to start with Strapi. Strapi has its own SQLite. That's what we're going to start with. But if you want to dive more deeper into things, I suggest learning an SQL database first. Something like PostgreSQL is an amazing place to start. MongoDB is another great one, which is no SQL database. Using Firebase when you're starting out, no point for you to do that. I like Firebase. Firebase is excellent, but don't do it when you just want to get a job, because no job requires you to know Firebase. Like that I found. A lot of them want you to know SQL, stuff like that for database. And legitimate backend solutions like either ASP.NET or Node.js or even Python and Django. So that's what we're going to use. We're going to start with SQLite, but we're going to jump in and use this. And another thing that I kind of was talking to you guys about, so like if you look at my application, let me find where there's more entries here. Okay, you have 30. Look at this beautiful grid. Like this grid is like amazing here. And what's amazing about this grid is that, oh, let me back up here. Amazing about this grid is that I don't have to make this grid myself, and all the filtering, all the like dragging, all that stuff that's already pre-built in this. And we're going to be using something called HG Grid, which is amazing. And so the point is, for this tutorial, because I'm one developer, instead of building everything from scratch, we're going to basically use the power of stuff that already exists and create an amazing app with this amazing type of grid, with amazing graphs, all this cool stuff that's going to show the potential employer that you're getting. Not only are you able to build an awesome app with authentication, like security features, different users, the full CRUD application, but it's also going to show them that you're able to integrate other people's code base and make it work together and stick together like glue. So that's what we're going to do, and that's how we're going to do it. And we're going to build something like this. And the most important part here is that the point for you guys to take away from this is that at the end of the day, like, you got to be building stuff, and not just building stuff, you got to be building stuff that is kind of like a serious project that could have paying clients. So a lot of people ask me, how do I decide, if you're building a good project for your portfolio? So number one, the thing you're building, would you ever pay money to use it? That's like a good litmus test. Are you, like yourself, like the thing that you built, if someone offered it to you as a service, I'd be honest with like the answer, like, would you use it? Would you pay money to use it as a service? If the answer is yes, that means there's enough value for you. That means you created a project that's valuable enough for somebody else. So that's very, 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 very important. And that's kind of like one first litmus test. The second litmus test is like, would other people pay you money for the thing that you built? So if the thing that you build, you can't kind of make an argument why someone should pay you money to use as a service, then you probably didn't build a substantial enough app. So just stick with me here. If you build an application that you yourself see paying money for because it provides you value, if other people see value in it and they want to pay you money for it, that means you built something that recruiters and employers are going to look at and be like, wow, he created something that there's actual use case, and he solved the problem, and he built an app that is production ready. Because when you're working, you're not making toy apps. You're working on production ready code, the stuff that you're going to deploy and deliver to clients. So if you're not thinking about your portfolio like that, it's going to be very difficult. And this application that I'm going to be building might take me a month or 2, 3 months. It's not something light. It's like, that's why I call it the cornerstone project, to help you get hired. And I really like Coder Foundry. They have a like ASP.NET Bootcamp, but they also have a YouTube channel. They give a lot of great value, really good channel, especially if you're interested in ASP.NET. But the most important thing, they talk about this portfolio project called like bug tracker, this. And I asked him once why, and it's because it covers the gamut of, like, you have to know about the complete CRUD application. You need to know about authentication. You need to know about databases. You need to, like, if you could build a bug tracker, that means you understand programming as a whole in a way to get hired. And that's why I think building a complex application as your cornerstone, you don't have to have 5 of these, just have one like in your portfolio with some of your simpler apps, is very important. And by the way, if I'm talking too much and you think like I'm talking over your head, and by the way, don't be shy asking questions. And Hamza, I'll take a look at my Slack when I get a chance. Don't think I missed you. And like, speaking over your head, don't worry. Like, if you don't know enough to start here, let me know in the comments, and I will tell you how you could break what I'm showing you into even smaller pieces and still be able to get started on this project. Like, for instance, I'll give you a clue. Like, oh, this all looks complex. I don't know, like, how to, like, I'm like, look, share my screen, but I'm not sharing my screen. I'm like, oh, look, this all looks complex. I'm not sure what to do, how to build this, like, what is going on here? Listen, start with seeing if you could just build a logout page like this using HTML and CSS. And then maybe add some JavaScript to handle validation and being able to hook up this form. You know, start small. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. And guys, you know, if you're just joining in, we're talking about building a cornerstone project, a big project in your portfolio that's guaranteed to get you hired. And the reason that I know this is because everything that I'm basing this project on is what I'm currently doing at my job. I'm getting paid for this. This is the technologies that I'm using. And if you're joining us late, I'll quickly review what it is and what we're building. And if you haven't smashed the like button, god damn it, smash the goddamn like button as hard as you can, but just not too many times. I want it to be in the positive likes, not negative likes. I always find it hilarious when people dislike my videos. And you know what? I'd much rather be disliked by few than not put out this content to people that care about this content, because you guys are most amazing community and I'm happy to be part of your community. I'm so happy to be here. So here's the thing. This is what we're going to do. We're going to build a time tracking project management class project. And you know, if you log in, you're gonna see all the different projects that we're working on. You'll have the users, you have, you know, the projects, you have the tasks for that project. Let's find something that has more tasks. Let's go here. This one has 5 tasks. You're gonna have this grid view, and again, this is not completed yet, but this is kind of the idea of something we're gonna build. And again, if you're not gonna build the exact same thing here, because I have this project that I already started on, but I'm also gonna have a separate project that I'm gonna start with you guys on this live stream. And every week, every Tuesday, 7 p.m. US Central Time, that's what we're gonna work on. And if you get behind, that's fine. You could always catch up and watch those other videos. And if you get ahead, great, you get ahead. And Jose has a great question. Does this project has to be geared toward a specific industry? No, it hasn't. And the way that I have it currently, it's basically more general project management app. So if you, that's why I have it called like organization and whatever assets. I'm using very general, poor names. But the idea here is to have just general project management app. Now, you could then decide, listen, I want to make this the best project management app for artists or musicians or whatever. And you could niche it down a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's something you could do. And so what are the tools that we're going to be using for this app? We're going to be using React, which is amazing. Now, for our styling, we're not going to style everything from scratch. We're actually going to use React Bootstrap. So if you're familiar with Bootstrap, it's basically Bootstrap with React components. So instead of recreating a lot of the stuff, they just have these components, like a button component that already has predefined styling applied to it. And then eventually I'll show you how you could change the Bootstrap or overwrite Bootstrap styling through theming, which we'll talk about later, not right now. We are going to use React Router because React, it's a library. It's not a framework, and so it doesn't have all the features. It just is really good at displaying stuff to UI and handling state. But in terms of routing, you need to bring in another library. So we're going to use React Router. For our backend, we're going to use Strapi. And I'm going to show you some beginner setup process today. We're going to set this up. We're going to also use GraphQL. If you're not familiar with GraphQL, it's amazing. So most commonly, you probably dealt with REST API. But GraphQL makes it easier because not only it allows you just to have one endpoint, it also allows you to get the data that you want, and it's amazing. Instead of locally, I'm running PostgreSQL. For our particular project, we are going to use Strapi with its SQLite, and then we'll transition to GraphQL. And for our amazing grid, we're just going to use a library. Like, we're going to use HGrid library because to recreate this, it will take someone 6 months to do because of the functionality that it has. Now, by the way, when you're building stuff, it's very important to find a balance based on your expectations, you know, what you're going to build yourself and what resources you're going to dive into. Like, for instance, if you're building a React application, like I can, yes, recreate this grid myself, but the functionality that I don't want to waste my time trying to recreate something that already exists, you know? And so don't be shy to use other libraries use him sparingly, but just understand I'm one developer. So to build this completely without utilizing, things that I mentioned would take me 6 months. No, I want to build it fast. I want to get it out the door. I want to put it on my portfolio. So that's what I'm going to do. And, we have endpoint here. This guy's amazing. If you didn't see our talks we had on our live streams, he's a computer science student, very smart dude. Check out his channel. He's working on a project as well, and he's actually just started to change his project into use C# and ASP.NET, which will be amazing. And let's see next comment here before we dive into some of the code here. So he's replying to George. The basics of HTML and CSS can be learned in a couple of days. To get good at them, it's another story. Yeah, I don't know if it's a couple of days. Like I'm dumb. I'm like really stupid. So it took me forever to learn everything that I'm learning. But the good news is if you commit to coding, you commit to practicing, you're going to get this stuff done. You're going to get this stuff rolling. You're going to know what's up. And so if you guys ask a couple more questions, and if you guys don't have questions, we're going to go through and set up our basic layout for what it is that we're going to build in VS Code and like get some packages. And by the way, guys, you don't have to follow along with me because you could always rewatch this stream. And like the point is, like, I'll do it with you guys here, but you could just watch. And the good thing about just watching, number one, if you have questions, you could ask questions about what I'm doing and I could give you the answer. If I'm doing something wrong, which there's definitely a chance that I might, you guys could, boom, tell me about it. And, and I could be like, okay, let's do this better. So so I finally made it to Hamza's message here. Let me see if I could share it. And I'm guessing this is kind of from a requirement for an interview or something. And let me pull it up on the screen. This is actually really cool. Thank you for sharing that with us. And damn, this is so small. Let's see. Can I make it bigger? Kind of. Okay, I'm going to have to read like partly what it says here. Come on, get bigger. Oh, we heard that before, right? Get bigger. Jesus Christ. What is this show devolving to? Anyway, please create an app with at least 3 views, which is kind of interesting because when they say 3 views, they're implying that there's going to be some sort of routing in place that changes views. So like if you do React, you definitely have to be familiar with React Router and then pull some data from an API like users and stuff like that. Perfect. And so you should be able to list existing items, add new items, delete items. So they're basically asking for basic CRUD application, some sort of sorting, and please use only plain JavaScript with no framework libraries like React. And this is actually very common people ask on the interview, and I had the same exact question. So for this tutorial, I'm going to do with React because we're just going to talk about what I had planned for, do stuff that I'm using at work and getting paid for, and that's what I want to get better at. But if you're starting out, because these are questions that are asked, you should be able to create this stuff with plain JavaScript. The good news, because this is plain JavaScript, you don't have to worry about routing because you would just use HTML links to link to different pages that will have the different information. So by the way, this is a great small practice project for you today to do. So you could have this big cornerstone project that I'm working on right now, that we're all working on together, but finding challenges like this and building them is very important. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to save this for later, and not this live, not next live, but for sure I am going to make a video where we will do exactly this. And I made a little bit simpler videos like this. Basically, let me show you an example here. Let me go to my Chrome. Much simpler thing here. If I go to CodePen, I have a lot of shit. Can I swear on my own stream? Of course you can. I have a lot of shitty. This is obviously not, like, whenever you see something awesome, I probably didn't make it, so don't worry, it's not my stuff. But I just want to show you a basic example, and obviously it doesn't have multiple views, but it does cover this idea of being able to get something from a database using vanilla JavaScript, and it changes and updates the view. And I created it actually with plain JavaScript, and then I created it with React. And the most amazing part, React was way better because it was way less code. But let me get to it. Where is it? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Here we go. So this is vanilla JS implementation. So let me show you the code. Basically, this is Kanye West. This is the most amazing app ever. This is called Kanye West quote generator.
Let's feel like water. Keep squares out, yo circle.
Seriously.
There are people sleeping in parking lots.
Kanye West, I mean, he's the smartest person alive, so why not make a Kanye West, you know, whatever, quote generator. So here I am, wrote it in JavaScript. And by the way, what I wanted to do is I wrote like my own, it doesn't matter actually, like I don't want to take away too much from what I want to do, but this is in vanilla JavaScript. Every time the quote changes, it has to update the view. So I created a bunch of component functions that basically generate, you know, like I have a create tag component, create button component. I kind of broke everything down into functions, create, you know, just to better organize my code. Because sometimes you see some JavaScript code and it's just like a big mess. So I'm trying to kind of take this idea that, you know, don't be afraid of putting things in their own functions to make your code easier to read. Actually, I have some examples of code that, like, is, to me, looks terrible. And I'm still on my journey, so maybe it's not terrible. But by the way, that was code written in JavaScript. Let me go back there. That's hilarious. It's about, this is getting the voice API, so don't worry about that. But it's about 145 lines of code. Granted, I organized things, broke stuff into functions, so it's more readable and extendable. I probably could have wrote it in less code, but the Kanye React generator, quote generator, it's literally 50 lines of code. So by utilizing React, you are writing less code and you're able to build things like much faster and much quicker. But anyway, not to take away too much about it. So building those basic projects is like really cool. And I think, like, actually see if I could find an example here. There's an example that I saw, and I don't know if I saved it. I don't know which one is the React, which one isn't. Yeah, this is from Brad Travesty example, and I don't know if I re-edited this one. I don't think I re-edited this one. So yeah, so anyway, the point I was saying, this is not a bad example. This is not that bad, but this idea of like having one big function that handles everything, and I don't think I have a better example than that. But don't be shy into, that was from Brad Travesty course. I don't know if which of these examples is the one that I was. No, this is the React one. I was trying to recreate the same thing with React for fun. This is like my JavaScript, I think, example here. Yeah, so you look at my example. It's a lot more code, and there's a lot more extensibility. But in my opinion, this is way more readable because I have function, breathe, input, update UI, hold breath, update UI, you know, breathe out, update UI. So different function responsible for one single thing that it does, you know, one breath cycle in seconds, set breath state. So I have functions that handle each individual thing. So maybe in a small application like this, it's an overkill, and there's nothing wrong with doing something like this where you just put this functionality here, but it's hard to tell what does what here. And so yes, my other example was overkill, but the point is, don't be shy to break things into individual functions so your code is much readable, where, like, if you read this, you might not know what does what. You go back to my other example, you know, the functions, they read nicer, and the naming kind of suggests what they handle, and so it's not a mess. And I have some additional functionality here than the other app, but that, you know, let's not dwell too much on that. But basically, you need to code. And if you're trying to get a job, you need to have a portfolio with an amazing project like this one that I'm showing you. But you also got to practice making sure that you are also practicing as your smaller projects, finding interview questions and seeing if you could code them, like the example I just shared that Hamza shared for us here. And so anyway, let's kind of come back to this, and we're actually going to get started. So again, if you're just joining us and you haven't smashed, oh my God, I almost had a heart attack because I was like, there's 16 people watching and we only have 11 likes. Oh my God, seriously, I don't know what to say. You guys, come on, smash that like button. Like, you know, because it doesn't help me, it helps other people find this amazing stream. So we're going to jump into it. Quick review, and if you've been here from the start, I'm going to apply to this first. We are going to be working on building some similar application to this. This is actually a functional application that I'm currently working on, but we're talking about this idea that imagine that this is a UI someone created. Your job is to recreate this UI with HTML, CSS, and create a functional application that has this idea of users, projects like assets, organizations, milestones, and tasks, right? To manage a project that you're working on as a team. I love that you guys making that like button jump like it's nobody's business. I really appreciate all you guys. And for this project, this is the tag we're using. We're going to be using React, which is amazing because React is awesome, but because it's still just a library, not a full framework, we are going to be using React Bootstrap for the CSS and React routing for the routing. And for our backend, we're not going to make it ourselves because going full stack, it's like nobody goes full stack from the start. Unless you're doing ASP.NET and C#, at that point you have no option because everything is like server-side generated. And so you have to do full stack because that's how they work. But outside of the C# example, if you're in the React space, don't go full stack right away. Don't go full stack. It's like that movie, Tropic Thunder. You don't go full whatever turd. But the point is, we want to build things in like blocks. We're going to create this amazing front end, and we're going to use Strapi for our backend so we don't have to worry about it. And the good news about using Strapi is that you could always make it more complex. You could always write custom controller code. And afterwards, after we finish this amazing application with Strapi, and everybody's comfortable with their front end chops, being able to use something like Strapi, understand the full functionality of CRUD, comfortable with GraphQL, then we could rip out Strapi, like take it out and throw it out on its head and build our own API from scratch using GraphQL, which will be difficult as hell if you don't know it. But that's what we're saving it for later. We're going to do it next time. So, and then we are using GraphQL. GraphQL is amazing. If you don't know much about it, just that's what we're using. We're going to learn it as we go. If you want to get a jump start after this, read a bunch of React documentation, check out some Bootstrap documentation, check out some React Router documentation, check out some Strapi documentation, check out some GraphQL documentation. And Strapi out of the box uses MySQLite, which is what we're going to start with for making things easier. But eventually we're going to run our own thing of Postgres SQL locally. And then when we get ready to deploy this app, we're going to deploy the backend Strapi with Postgres on Heroku, and our Strapi frontend is going to be deployed. I just realized I wasn't sharing my screen. God damn it, I'm such an idiot. But and then we're going to deploy our frontend on Netlify. So let me share my screen again before we jump in. So we quick review for the 100th time. React, that's what we're going to be using. We're going to be using Bootstrap React. It's like Bootstrap, but React components. We're going to be using React Router, very important. We're going to be using Strapi with MySQLite. We're going to connect a Strapi to use GraphQL and be able to query stuff. Eventually, once that is all done, we're actually going to transition and set up PostgreSQL locally, because if you want a job, you need to be familiar with some sort of SQL database. So we're going to use Postgres. And then we're also going to use AG-Grid to make our AG-Grid beautiful. So with that being said, if you guys don't have any questions, we'll just get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kill this project because we no longer need it. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into this code editor thingy, new terminal. And so I call this, let me zoom in so all you guys can see. So this is basically a blank folder with nothing on it on my computer. And so we're going to create one folder. I called it community one community, bring everybody together. And it's going to have our front end, which is going to be our separate thing, and our back end, which is going to be API. And we're going to put them together and make the most amazing project. I got to learn to use my hands really awesomely. I think that's going to be my next thing for 2022, is to be able to speak with my hands. So the first thing we're going to do is decide where to start. So where to start? Well, we know we need React. So we're going to get started with React. I don't know if I want to try React. Where's the documentation? So this is what happens when you're coding. You're looking through the documentation. You're kind of checking it out. You're like, how does it work? You know, and sometimes like when you can't find the React documentation, which I know you can, but I just want to put it out there. You know, you could Google. And we want to get started with React, npx create React app. So sometimes Googling stuff for examples, and look, it's bringing us back to that same organization. So basically, this is the command we're going to run. We're going to run npx create app. Now, I'm assuming that you have Node.js installed. I'm assuming that you have VS Code installed. And by the way, you don't have to worry about if you can't follow me along with this tutorial. That's why it's going to be live right now. So you could watch me do it, ask questions, and if I break something, you could laugh at me. But more importantly, you could always come back to this live stream and rewatch it. So I'm going to start with npx create React app, and it's going to create a basic React app application for us. And like, we're going to call it project. We're going to call it front end, because this is going to be our front end folder, or you could call it client. Yeah, let's call it client side code. And we're going to run npx create app. It's going to do its magic. It's going to create our initial boilerplate application with nothing in it except a fancy React logo. And so that's what we're going to do. Now, that's the first step, is to set up our create React app. Next, we know we want Strapi for our backend. We just know it. Like, how do you know it? Because I told you, we're not going to be wasting time creating an API from scratch to scratch. We're going to use Strapi. Why? Because we're single individual employers, developers. So use stuff that exists so you could make an awesome, amazing application quickly as possible, so you could put in your portfolio and get that job that you want. Like, if I want to get a wheel for my car, I'm not going to go into the woods and then chop a tree down and build it myself, or even worse, try to mine ore to turn into steel and create my own rims. That'll be ridiculous. No, I'm just going to go to the store and buy a wheel. And that's kind of what we're doing here to get started. So if you go into Strapi documentation, I'm clicking the button. I must be already inside. Well, if you want to go developer Strapi application. And a lot of times, like when you get to like the documentation, you just don't know what to do in here. So again, like I keep telling you guys, Google is your friend. So I'm going to npx, I mean, I already know the commands, but npx Strapi, I'm just going to pretend I don't know the command, see what it does. And look, installing from a CLI Strapi, boom, here we go, npx create app. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go back to our terminal. Now I'm going to get here. So I'm in my client folder. So we're going to npx create, and this is going to be our server folder. And I might have to write quick start, which will automatically install. Seriously, did I spell quick start wrong? You son of a, what the, unbelievable. I can't spell quick start. God damn it. Quick start guys. See, they have a thing. Oh, okay, they changed it a bit. Okay, they want the project. I don't want to, God damn it, I don't want the, so see, that becomes like a thing. You got to look through documentation and stuff like that. So like, I'm going to go Google. I can't even type Google, right? Like comedy hour all day long, right? The secret, developer that can't spell, npx. And by the way, I know all this stuff. I'm just showing you the process, that this process of Googling is like what you will do most of the time. So if this is something you I did create React app. No, create Strapi app. Is what you're going to be doing. And I'm only doing it for the purposes of, look, not you just, I mean, Strapi app, you're not just going to know all this stuff. So it's going to be this idea of having to work through this stuff and look stuff. And like now, like I know the quick start is a thing, but guess what? We could cheat. We could cheat. We could just do npm npx create Strapi app server, and it's just gonna give us those options. Quick start right there, bro. But I wanted to type quick start so I don't have to come into this goddamn menu and click it here again. But look, that's something you could do. Now, here's another problem. You encountered into issues when trying to install stuff, and sometimes it's gonna happen. So I think what the problem is, it's not me guys, it's not you guys. Let me remove server for now. But it's the fact that sometimes you might have a bunch of different node version, and I'm gonna assume that because I'm using Mac 1 Mini, which is the node version that works on it natively, nvm use system, that's what I want to use, is not supported with the current stuff because it's like super futuristic Node.js. So now npx should work. Create Strapi app server, and let's see what happens here. Let's just try it, and if it doesn't work, we're gonna troubleshoot. But the point again that I'm trying to say is that you're gonna have these bugs that will come on. They're gonna like rear their ugly heads, and you're gonna get stuck. I don't want to use a template, and you're not gonna know like where to go, what to do. And this is what you do. You just keep Googling and keep figuring out, is it your node version? Like if you don't have a Mac 1 Mini and you have a normal computer, you probably won't have that node version problem. But I think like I have node version 15, but currently 14 is what is their long lasting release. That's what a lot of places, like a stable build, I guess that you would say. So perfectly worked. So now what happened? Now we got our two projects set up. We got our client project set up with our front end React, and then we have our backend set up, which is amazing. We already have a front end. Probably should be on this side. We already have our front end. This is in reverse for me. And we have our backend already built together. And now we just connect them together to get data. But anyway, so let me jump back to my code editor here. And so over here. So now look, Strapi is created. And let me kind of kill everything because it automatically starts stuff. And I don't want it to automatically start. I want it to clear everything. So let's check out our folder. So we have our client and our server folders that we created. So our client, this is our React application. And what we're going to do, we're going to break this terminal. We're going to split it. We're going to go to, on the left side, I'm going to do cd client. Make sure that I'm running, and then I'm going to do npm run start. And this is going to run our front end application. Not this. This is my old one. It's going to refresh. And here's your basic setup application that you get started with. This is basic React running. You're done. You did it. So now we got and Roofer, I love the smiley faces, represent. Thank you so much. Now what we're going to do, we're going to go back and we're going to get our Strapi backend running. So I'm going to go cd server ls, god damn it, ls I said. And then when you first load Strapi, you load into Strapi. Now they use yarn commands. I'm old school, I like npm. So you want to run npm run build first. What it's going to do, it's going to build that initial UI that we're going to use to log in and create user. Okay, it's doing its thing. We need some louder. We need some, yeah. While loading, that's what we got to do. We just got to do some techno music. And I don't know if the song is good or not, but that's what it is. And so once that's done, what we want to do is we want to run npm run develop. And that's going to run Strapi. Why Mac 1 Mini? Why can't you remember that I switched my npm version? And why do I have npm run system? Why can't you remember that? Anyway, now we run. I'm breaking my code here. Look at this. Look at this. Anyway, nvm use system. So when you open another, what's that word? Once you open another instance of your terminal, it's a brand new instance. So it doesn't remember that I switched to use node 14. And that's why Strapi doesn't like me, because it doesn't like Mac 1 minis with node 15. So now we run npm run develop, which is hilarious because it could build it, but it can't run it. And now, boom, we're running. And so let me go here. We have our React application running locally on our local server. And then we have localhost 1337. I'm the worst typer in the world. Like, I can't type to save my life. If someone put a gun to my head that said, "You must type, sucker, or we kill you," I'll be like, damn, I'm dead. I can't type fast. I can't use Google fast. I can't do anything fast. But here we go. We have our back end. That was super easy. They're waving at us. Love it. And then we're going to go create our first administrator. So I'm going to call my first name coding. 30 is my last name. It's not, guys. And I'm going to, actually for this, I'm going to give my actual email password, email address, because if you forget your password, you want to be able to reset it, and the way you reset it with your email. So for this step, I would provide a legitimate email, and I just realized I gave my actual email, not that it's a secret what my name is. And I'm going to create super secure password here. All right, so let's start. And basically this creates your UI for your backend with Strapi. And now you don't have to create a backend from scratch, because what happens now, you have access to this. And first I'm going to show you how you're able to access this with traditional REST API. And by the way, guys, if you think this is too much, it's all we had, don't worry about it. You can also always rewatch the video. And by the way, there's a reason this is a live chat, because I want you guys to ask questions if you get stuck or have a question about something, because I want to be able to answer your questions to clear up some of the stuff that maybe we're misunderstanding. So don't be shy about it. You know, let me know in the comments here. But now what I could do is I could go into my content type builder and I could create a new collection. So let's say we know we're going to have clients. Let's say that this is a client management program, right? So I'm going to call it a client. Then I'm going to click continue. A client should probably have a name. So we're going to say first name. And there's additional settings, like should it be required? Probably, but we're not going to worry about that right now. We're going to make it short text. Add another field. We're going to call this a last name. Very original, but people need a last name. How you know who to sell the child support check if you don't know the last name? Seriously. And then we're going to finish for now. So we just create a user with last name, with a first name and last name field. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create another. Oh, don't forget to save. Very important to save. Gotta save. Son of a gun. Did I not save it? You son of a... See what happens? If you don't save stuff, you gotta save it. So let's do it again. So we have first name. I have Apple Mouse, which is retarded because what Apple Mouse decided to do when you accidentally swipe it left, it backs you one step. And so I hate it. I don't know why I got Apple mouse. It's stupid. Add another field. Let's add last name. But why not? And the most important part, click save here. Now we just created. Yeah, it's gonna error out on me. It's not erroring out. What's happening in the background here, I'm just gonna show you here quickly, is that it's got to restart the server and restart it again when you make some changes. And by the way, if it's thinking too long, it might be your computer, it might be you. But look, we created a user, we created clients. We have a client list. We don't have any clients, so now let's add a client. I'm gonna say test client is the first name and last name. Awesome, randomly. So let's save, let's publish. So now we have this concept of a client. And so if I go to my local host, and before I do that, everything is locked, right? So right now I would not have access to my user or client. So if I type clients here and click enter, it says not found because I can't spell. I'm not even going to say what I spelled, but think of all the letters in clients and all the letters in some other word, and you will know what I spelled by accident. So if I click clients and I refresh here, it says forbidden, not authorized, because my backend is locked down. I need to give permission. So what we're going to do, we're going to give permission for testing purposes. Right now, it's not the safest way to do it. Where's my Strapi instance? What the hell? I opened too many windows. Okay, we could close this one. We could close this one too. Okay, so I'm going to go into settings here. I'm going to go into roles. I'm going to go to public. So basically the idea is anybody could view anything. This is not secure, but we're doing this for the purpose of this demonstration. So notice we have client. I want to be able to find one by ID. I want to be able to find all of them. And I want to be able to get the count of how many clients there. I'm going to save it. And now look at this magical thing. If I refresh, now we got our test client with the first name, last name, awesome. We got when it was published, when it was created, when it was updated. So we have a backend API ready to go. Like I could use Postman, and I don't like to use Postman a lot, but sometimes you have to. So basically, look, I could use Postman, and if you're not sure what's happening, I don't know either what's happening. What is happening? I'm showing you all the secret screens here. But basically, Postman allows you to test your API. Don't worry, we're not going to use Postman. I just want to show you as an example here. And I could literally paste in here and query my API point that's created for me. So we have access to our first and last name. Okay, guys, I want to get to the mind-blowing part of this. But for that to happen, let's create a project that could have association to a client. And if you were writing this from scratch without using Strapi, and boy am I going to sneeze right now, that would be a lot of coding to do because you would have to code that relationship yourself. But with Strapi, it's very easy. What do I want to do? Let me save this just in case again. We're going to go to our content type. We're going to create a type and we're going to call it project. Display name project, because the clients could have projects. Continue. Our project is going to have a project name, and our project is going to have a description, and we're going to use long description, and that's right. And what relationship do we want our project to have? Well, we want it to be in relation to our client, because the client could have a project that you're working on, and we want to have a project, or a client should be able to have many projects. So I hit finish, I click save. So now what we have, and now what we have, I've always seen that error, freaks me out, but it's no big deal. But now what we have is we have this concept of a user. Well, user was automatically created, but the ones that we created today, we have this concept of a client. We have this concept of a project. I'm going to go here into projects, and I'm going to create a new project. And we're going to call it original test project. And we're going to say blah, because I don't want to type too much, blah, 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 right? And then this belongs to our client, test client. We save it. Now what I want to do is I want to go back and publish this. Don't forget to publish. I want to go to the settings, go to roles, public, and again, you would never do in your real application, but because we're just testing, find one, find many. Let's save this bad boy here. So now we created, idea of a client. We created this idea of a project. We have our projects API here, endpoint. So if I go here, refresh this, notice we get the data for our client. It also shows the association for our projects. And then we also get, what do we make? Projects in Russian, right? No, that's not how you say it in Russian. Damn it. Spelling is going to be the death of me. Don't tell anybody, guys. I can't spell. And I can't say that I'm Russian because I've been in this country so long. So notice now when we return a project, not only do we return a project, we also get the client that it belongs to. Now, the issue with this right now, guys, is that whenever I make this request, I'm always getting back all this data. Just because the way our REST API is set up. Wouldn't it be nice only to get the things that you want? Yes, say yes, guys. Everybody say yes. It would be nice to get the data that you just want. And that's where GraphQL comes in. And so what we're going to do, so we looked at how to do this is close this window is irrelevant, this window is irrelevant at this point, this is irrelevant, close that one, close that one, close that one, close that one, because I'll be clicking the wrong windows all the time. So we just need the stuff where we're working with stuff. Okay, great. We closed it. This one we need. This one we don't need. This one we need. This one. Okay. So this is straight up from our REST API. So what I want to do now is I want to show you GraphQL. So the first thing we want to do is install it. And this is basically, if you want to build this project alongside with us, you could always come back to this video and follow the steps that we missed. But basically, this is where we're starting out. So now we're going to go to the marketplace and we're going to download GraphQL. Now, I don't know why every time you download stuff from within the UI here, I think it's because I'm using M1. It doesn't like it. But sometimes it throws an error. If it throws an error, just refresh your browser and it will be there. If not, there's a way to install GraphQL plugin Strapi terminal, and you could just literally type this command, Strapi install GraphQL, and it's going to install it for you, right? If it freaks out in the UI like it's freaking out for me here. But normally, see, it keeps freaking out. It keeps throwing errors. So that's just the UI issue with stuff. Boom, it's already installed. It's not an issue. Just refresh the screen. A good refresh would just fix stuff. So whenever stuff breaks, by the way, this is a pro tip for you guys. Pro tip. This happens all the time. Whenever you're working, regardless VS Code, regardless if it's whatever thing you're running, sometimes things stop working and you think it's your code. Sometimes you just gotta Control-C, get out of that environment and restart it again, and it's gonna work. Sometimes things just go aggro. And so we just keep that in mind, guys. That happens. So let's come back to our application because we wanna check out the amazing benefits of GraphQL. And if this doesn't make sense, you guys, it's so good because that's why I'm here. I don't see no questions, so I'm just gonna keep moving on. So now that we installed GraphQL, it gives us, notice how before we went to our localhost and the name of the API. So we went to projects if you want to see projects. We went to clients. Gotta spell it right phonetically. We go to clients to see the clients, right? But now it doesn't matter. I don't care for this window. Instead, now we have GraphQL. And I just realized that I wasn't sharing my screen. And so I made funny dumbass faces without telling you what we're doing. So basically, let me review here. We're getting our stuff from REST API. We have our client's endpoint, right? And we have our projects. right? Endpoint. So we see our project. Notice how it gives us everything. And sometimes you don't want to return everything. You just want to return the thing that you need. And this is why GraphQL is awesome. And the cool thing about GraphQL, it's self-documenting. And again, if none of this makes sense, none of this made sense to me when I started. So don't worry about it. It will make sense to you guys. But now, by the way, we have this amazing GraphQL endpoint. GraphQL endpoint. And this is where you're able to connect to GraphQL. So now, if I want to query a user, not a user, but we have clients, I just type, I want to query clients. And what do I want to get from clients? I just want the first name only. And then I click play. Boom, right there. We got only the client, right? You know what? I don't even care about his first name. I just want to get client's ID, and I want to get client's projects, and I want to get the project's name. And then click play. Booyah, look at that. Only get what you asked for. Like REST API is like a bad relationship where you constantly have to ask for things. With GraphQL, it's like a nice relationship where you just ask for what you want and that's what you get. The beauty of that, it has the docs here, and a lot of this stuff is created for you by Strapi. That's what I'm telling you. Don't build a backend from scratch. It's a headache. We got Strapi here, and what Strapi does, it allows us to basically have access to all this stuff. And we created, let's say, projects and clients. And by the way, this is self-documenting. I now have this in docs. Like I want to see how clients work. It shows me basically all the options I have that I could ask from my client. It shows the type of the client. Like for instance, we added first name, last name, and then we build that relationship with project. And all of that is amazingly created for us. So now, just quick review, and we probably won't get to it in this stream, but we will start. Now though, to quick recap, let me go back here. Let me show you here. So we have our folder. We created our client-side React application, which we're gonna take a look at next, that I'm like showing with my hand, like they show in those talk shows when they're showing stuff. Show, right? And then we also created our backend with Strapi, which is here, which is amazing. And once you learn more about Strapi, you will be able to see how you have the client that we created, and then you actually have this endpoint. If you wanted to add, right now it's blank, but if you wanted to add additional custom backend code, which we will at some point, you could do so. So Strapi is very flexible that way. So to review, we created our client-side application, which is React, and then we created our Strapi application, which has an amazing backend that we could use to work from right from the start. Although a lot of the CRUD application will still be done from our React application. So what's the next step? Next step for us is to find a way to connect our React application and connect our Strapi backend application together. So let's go and do that now. So we are going to be using Apollo client, and I can't spell. And so that's what we're going to use to connect our application. We're going to use, let me make it bigger. We're going to be using Apollo client to help us connect everything together to make it work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this, and I'm going to go back to my code editor. Where did I go? Where did my terminal disappear? This is, close this window. That's broken progress. Come on, terminal. Where did you go? There you go. There you go. So what I'm going to do, so Apollo client, we need to install it in our React application. So I'm going to kill it here. Make sure that I'm in my React application. And I'm going to install Apollo client GraphQL. So we're going to let this happen. It's going to be the magic. And while this is happening, let's go ahead here and clean out our folder. And for purposes of demonstration here is we are not gonna worry about building out the app right now. We just want to create the simplest possible connection we can to connect our GraphQL, our React app, and our backend app together. What's up, Luke? Great to see you, buddy. Hey, good to see you. Have I tried GitHub Copilot? Not yet, not yet. I'm sure it's amazing and it's gonna take all the development jobs, so we shouldn't even be learning development. 100%, just stop learning. Now, it looks pretty amazing. I do want to play with it. I think what I want to be able to try with GitHub Copilot is actually, let's say, because you could basically give it interview questions and it will solve it for you. And so let's say you stuck on an interview question and you just can't figure it out, you're trying to code. You could use something like Copilot to give you the solution, and then you could compare what you tried with the solution that it gave you and use that to learn. I think that's kind of the way that I want to try using it if I'm going to do it. And it's very slightly helpful. And that's probably like, you know, depending on the use case, like what you want to use it for. And like the point is, a lot of people making the video, it's going to take away all of our jobs. It won't. Just become a good developer and continue to grow as a developer, and you're going to have a job. But yeah, so let's come back. We installed our GraphQL and Apollo. Let's start our server again. Let's get it started. It's started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my terminal here, and we're going to go into our where is it? Where did it go? Okay, we're in our, okay, I'm in my server. We got to go to our React application. We're going to click source. We're going to go to app.js. Let me make this smaller because it's too big. That probably never happened. But we go here. We're going to release this from our code. We're going to delete the logo. We're not going to worry about it. We're going to keep the CSS and all that stuff for now until we start dealing with React and all this other stuff here. But let me delete this logo since we're not using it right now. So we're going to delete this, move it to trash. Who needs it? And stuff will happen here. Very important message to write. So now when we come back, boom, stuff will happen here. It works. We know where the location is. So now what we have to do is figure out how to connect Apollo client. And the answer is use documentation, read that stuff. That's what I'm telling you guys. Google and read the documentation. So Luke, but the freak out among some developers is quite hilarious. Yeah, and it is hilarious. And don't waste your time on freaking out, guys. Just, if you decide to be a developer, just keep coding, keep doing, and over time, strive to become a better developer. And that's why I decided to do these live coding things. Even most people won't watch it. I don't care, because I want to practice not only coding live, I want to practice talking about what I'm doing so I could increase my understanding, because definitely will make mistakes, definitely will break stuff, and it'll be nice to kind of figure stuff out while I'm doing this on the live stream and possibly have you guys help me, because you guys know more than I do. So let's come back here. And we're going to go back here, getting started with Apollo client. So we download Apollo client. And so we want to create an initial setup. Yep, that's how fast I read, guys. You believe that? So what we want to do is we want to copy and paste this code, right? That's how amazing the developers code. They copy and paste. No, like read that through documentation. Copy and paste might be important, might not be important. So let's kind of give this a try. So I'm going to copy this. Actually, I copied too much. We only need this for now here. We don't need all of it, and I'll delete the stuff we don't need. Okay, I keep looking. So let me read some more documentation. Okay, then it goes into other stuff here. So what I'm going to do is copy the code that I have here. And I'm going to share it with you what it is. And again, I showed you where to find it in that documentation. And just to set something up for us initially, because I know we're going to do it, it's going to have the part that you recognize here. And it's going to have some additional stuff that I'm going to explain to you guys in a second. So what I want to do is I want to, in source, create a new folder, and I'm going to call it Apollo. I don't know how you spell. Guys, help. My fingers can't spell because it's obviously not my brain. And I'm going to create a folder called Apollo. Is that how you spell Apollo? Jesus Christ, Paul. Yeah, this is how you spell it. And then inside here, we're going to create new file index.js, and then it doesn't have to be here, but it's all up to you how you want to organize your code. And I'm going to copy paste this here. By the way, let's kind of work through this. All right, so basically the first part is straight up from the documentation we saw. This is also from the documentation we saw, and I'm going to explain to you why this is here and the reason why we did it, because I want to set this up from the start. And if you're not sure, you could Google Apollo client token. Basically, how do you pass your token to GraphQL when you're making authorized requests? That's what this handles. But let's work through this code. So first thing we do is we import from our Apollo client GraphQL library that we just downloaded, and we're gonna you just have to set this up because that's what you have to do for the documentation. We need cache, in-memory cache, so basically save your GraphQL queries in memory so you don't have to refetch them. I'm using this default options, error policy all, because with the Node version I had, it was giving me issues. So I just wanted to kind of allow all errors for now. And HTTP link, it's basically our backend API endpoint. This is where we're going to be making requests. Moving to the next part of our code. Here we go. This, we want to create and use middleware where we're basically going to add ability to add our local storage token that we still yet to set up, but we want to be able to, when we authenticate our user, we're going to get back a token. To make authorized queries, we need to pass that token right here inside a header response, right? When you make a request, regardless if it's a REST API or if it's GraphQL, you need to pass a authorization bearer token in the header. So we're just including this from the start. And then we're saving this all into client, and we exporting this client to use for us. Again, if any of this is confusing, it's all in the documentation, or ask me questions here, or look at my screen and pause it when later you're working on this. But I do suggest that you go back and read the stuff here, and I'm sure if I scroll farther down here, it's gonna show us, you know, stuff with tokens somewhere here. So let's see, configuration, blah blah blah, advanced topics. It's somewhere in here, you know, but you just have to search for it. But blah blah blah, pagination, local state, only fields reactive client-side schema, local resolvers, developer tools using TypeScript. So there's a lot to read. Now, like I said before, and this is why I show it to you guys, when you are looking through the documentation, sometimes it's a pain in the ass to find something. So don't be shy to Google. So I'm going to Google passing token GraphQL Apollo client and see what comes up. And so look, bam, right there. It shows it here, shows how to start, talks about boom, and then they have it here. Slightly differently written example, but it's the same logic, is that they basically give you an endpoint to be able to pass the JW token that you get from your local storage and set it in the header. So it's inside the documentation. So notice how this code looks basically the same as our code here, right? And basically, the answer to a lot of your questions is look at the documentation, read the documentations, don't be shy. Look, a lot of guys, I know you're watching this video like I'm some dude on the internet, but the reason why I started to make these videos where I talk through how I solve problems and show you how I get stuck and how I Google stuff, because that's the reality of coding. That's something that you'll be doing, so don't let it discourage you that you're don't know anything. I don't know everything. I know like 2% of things. And so Googling, trying things out like we're doing right now in this code is what you do. So now that we created our client using the documentation, we're exporting our client, right? We're exporting, where's my code, the code thing that I'm working on? I gotta share my screen, right? We're exporting our client, and this is what we're going to use. We're going to go here in our app.js, and we're going to import client. I think I did named from, and I type super slow. We could all sing a great song. We want to go into, went too far because you're here. We want to go into Apollo. What the hell? And then we want to export from index. So we want to get our client. So now if you've done Redux, if you've done Context API, and if you haven't, don't worry about it, is we want to make sure we wrap all of our code with a provider that's going to provide that functionality to our application. Again, if you ever stuck, what do you do? What do you do, guys? Tell me, what do you do? Yeah, you go and read the goddamn documentation. So we've gotten this first part, we got this part. So now we are getting to our next part, which is basically setting up our Apollo provider. So we want to import our, I'm going to just copy and paste this here. We don't need all this stuff, but I'm lazy at typing and I much rather delete stuff than add stuff, which sounds weird. I'm like a sculpture that removes stuff and showcases most amazing stuff. This we don't need right now, but we will come back to it in just a second. Guys. And so we have our Apollo provider, and what we want to do is we want to wrap our application with the Apollo provider, and we want to pass our client into it. And if nothing breaks, that's amazing. Smash that like button if you think something's gonna break. Like seriously, guys, let me know. And by the way, guys, if you're just joining in, you know, if you missed a lot of stuff here, you could always rewatch my streams at 2-point speed. And this is a type of stream where I'm describing stuff, I'm teaching stuff. And some of you guys who make it through the whole stream, if you wanna, in the comments, do the section by time code for me, that'll be amazing. I'll try to eventually get to do that myself, but if someone wants to take the initiative and do that, that'll be very helpful. So now that we wrapped our application in the Apollo provider, let's take a look if it's broken. Let's go here. No, it still works. The code is not failing, we're running. So what did this allow us to do? We just did a bunch of work and we don't know what it did. So we have our front end, which is our React application. We have our back end, which is our Strapi API. And now we have this amazing GraphQL playground. But now this like back end and front end is connected using Apollo client thing we downloaded just now. Like you could tell that I've been doing this stream for a while. We got another 10 minutes to go, but now we're able to do the same query that I wrote here to query, let's say, our clients. We're just gonna do super simple today. Clients, we want the ID, we want the first name, and we want our last name, right? The same query that I'm able to get here, now I'm able to get it from my front end. So let's do it. So let's go back to our React application. We set up our front end, we set up our back end, and the only thing that we have left is to make our first query. So we need to pull And normally you would do this in different files, but we're just gonna do it here for today. We need use query, and then we need, I think that's what we need for now, use query and GQL. So first thing we're gonna do, we're going to write our query the same way we wrote our query here in our test playground. We're gonna do it here. What up, Tech Rally? How's it going? Yo, what's up? Tech Rally is the best, man. Go check out his channel. He does amazing stuff, and he always finds the coolest guests. I mean, he had me once on his show, but besides me, every guest he gets is really amazing, and he's really good at interviewing people. He's like the Tim Ferriss of coding interviews. Code guy. Yep. Probably referring to Tech Rally, the code guy. Maybe I'm the code guy. I don't know. But I'm trying to code. You know, I'm trying to make it happen. So now we have our query. Boom. Now we're going to go to our, and this is our React application. So now we're going to glue everything together by using our front end and query something from our backend. So first thing we want to do is we want to create a query. We're going to call it get clients query. I can't spell query. And we're going to use GraphQL in these little suckers, template strings. And we're going to add our query here, right? And so that's good. So now what we want to do, we want to call this query to get the data from our backend. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the use query hook, and just trust me that this has error, this has data, and this has loading. Guys, tell me, how do I know this? Come on, someone tell me the answer in the comments. How do I know this is a fact? Oops. Use query. How do I know this is a fact? Quickly, someone tell me. Someone tell me in the comments. How do I know this to be true, that this is the fact, that use query has that stuff? Somebody please tell me in the comments before I beat you to it. I'm gonna beat you guys to it. Wrap root component in Apollo provider. We just did that, baby. We just did. Oh slap. I know why this is happening. I know. Oh god. We have to add an additional step here. Okay, that's okay. We'll fix it. Context is wrap the root component of pressable client instance via options. Yeah, so this code, right, this stuff has to be inside here. Currently it's not, so we're gonna cheat a little bit. And it's not cheating, because we would probably have a client list component, right? We probably will have that. Maybe it's gonna call me a liar, but that's okay. I don't mind reading that documentation. But the way that I know how to do this stuff, guys, is because not only did I learn through watching some tutorials, but read the documentation. So we'll figure it out. But getting started, look, it's telling you here, blah, blah, blah. Look, you're gonna scroll down a bit. Fetch data. It's telling us to create that query that we talked about. And now, see, they're showing this example, and I'm just gonna copy and paste this, actually. Basically, I'm gonna copy and paste this here, and then we'll edit it. But basically, we create a client component that has to be within the provider. And so the reason why my code was broken here is that this is currently outside of the provider. So we're going to add this text, right? I'm just gonna put my thing that I wrote back, put it here. And basically what we're going to do, data. What we're going to do, if loading, return loading, if error, return error. And what we're going to do, we're not getting rates. Man, why did I copy and paste code? Just write it yourself, Paul. Jerk. So function, we want to have a return statement here. And what we're going to do, we know that data is going to load, but we'll still do a test. We'll say if data, only then show stuff. So we're going to create a div here for now. And then because this is JSX or JavaScript or whatever you want to call it, you got to put it in the brackets here. Now it's giving me issues, so let's troubleshoot. Let's figure it out. What's the issue? So we have function, client list. Okay, that works. Why is it complaining about that bracket? We have the return statement. That works. We have our if loading. That makes no sense to me. Why doesn't it like me? Come on, comments. Comments. Spell data wrong. Bro, you late. You late. I've been spelling every other word wrong, Corey. I can't spell to save my life, and that's a fact. So let me figure this out. So that's not an issue. Const, okay, that can't be an issue. Is it here somewhere? X. Why was that an issue? Some if loading, return loading. If error, return. That's weird. Oh, I see why. Don't put no freaking squiggly things in my code. That's why you shouldn't copy and paste all the time, because then when you paste something it doesn't work, you have to figure out why. So now it works. So check this out. We have our client list component. What we're going to do is we're going to put our client list component in here. Yup. And now let me just write here some stuff so we know that it's working. We're going to put a h1 tag. Why did I press enter? I want it to be in the same line. Client list. So let's see, is it broken? Do we have errors? Are there errors? No error. There's an error. There's an error. But you know where this error is coming from? It's coming from our GraphQL. And I know that because, why is it there? Let's go here. And because it's shooting an error here, get client's query, client query. So we're clients, did I copy the right query? Did I misspell stuff? And see, this is when you start coding, when you're coding on your own, this is typical. You're gonna run into stupid, dumbass stuff like that, and it's not gonna work for you. So what do you do? What do you guys do? What's the word of the day? You go to documentation, right? And you look, get started. So we got this. How they writing their query. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so then we could click inspect, right? We could go here. We could go console. I'm not canceling any errors, but we go here, refresh. So notice we got GraphQL. It says 200, so it works, but for some reason it's still returning an error. And I wonder if it's expecting variables, and because you're not passing variables, it's erroring out. Bro, give up. Tech Rally, I don't give up. I don't even know what give up means. I don't know what give up means. So let's go back here. Let's do this again. Copy. So we don't need variables here. I don't know why it's trying to give me a hard time here. Okay, we got query here. I spelled everything right. Let me see here. Console. Yeah, this is just what you do. You troubleshoot. But don't worry, if I don't get it, there's always next week and the week after that. But let's take a look here. Right. So guys, remember how I said we need to provide a valid token to log in? So we added all this extra code. So because I did that, what we need to do is we need to have a token. But to have a token, we need to have an authorized user. So I'm going to back up here. And so I'm going to save the code that we did. So here, all this extra code, I'm going to save it, right? but I'm gonna comment it out, and I'm gonna just set up the basic kind of idea here. And I think what I need to do is uncomment this. Let me just check what I need. We need to return this, this, and this. So let me do this here. And don't worry, like, if you're confused, basically, because I wasn't providing token, because we didn't have that functionality, it wasn't allowing me to make the query. So I'm gonna just rewrite this code here where we don't care about that stuff, and all we return is return just what we need without having to worry about the token. And that's how things happen. You know what I'm saying? You like try your best and then things break. And you know what you do? What do you guys do? You read the documentation link. We want to pass the HTTP link, and then we want to pass default options. Makes sense. And then forgot my comma. Yeah, that's just how you do it. You read the documentation, you read through stuff, and you see if the stuff works. So let's try it again. Now it's loading forever. We did it. It's all you guys. You guys sent me good vibes. We were able to figure out, and we got it. And so the console log was undefined. I'm going to kind of do this for now here. Let's go back to our app.js. So where's our console log? Errors undefined. Why? Because we're not getting any errors. What are we getting now? And once we finish this, I'm going to give you a good, quick review. And then if you missed this, by the way, if you haven't liked this, you got to like this. You got to smash the like button. If you laugh at me struggling and you're having a blast, you better like. You better like. So let's console log, console.log. What do we want the console log? We want to get data. I 100% know the data is there. How do I know the data is there? Because I did this test here. If data, show hello. And guess what? It loads. Let me refresh. And it says hello. The data is there. Look, we got a clients. We got a client array with client first name and last name. So let's display this to the screen. Then we'll do a review, and that'll be it for today. We actually covered a lot. What we did today, we talked about starting a project. Not only did we set up a front end with React, we set up backend with GraphQL, which is amazing, using Strapi API, and we combined them together because you could see that here we're getting data from our backend. This is our, where did I put our backend? Here's our backend. See, we have our client, and we're getting our client in our front end. That is freaking amazing. So what we're going to do just to finish up, I am going to just take this, right. We're going to have this div, and I'm going to, nothing too crazy. We just want a proof of concept. We want to know that, number one, we're able to connect to our backend, and then we're able to get some data. Once you are able to connect, get data, you're like 90% there, because everything else is just working back and forth between your front end and API. Obviously, it's not 90%. So what I want to do, I want to data.clients dot map, right guys, and we want to return client, right. Just say right, guys. Even if I'm wrong, just say right. And we want to return an h1, and we're just going to return our client's name. Now, because we're returning, anytime you loop through arrays in React, you need to pass a key, and a lot of times it's going to be some sort of ID that's unique. It has to be a unique thing. So I know we have client ID, and then what we're going to return here, like, I don't know why it doesn't like me. Why you not like me? But come back here. Let's come back here. Let's do this, and then client dot first name. I don't understand. Oh, of course you don't understand, Paul. You never understand. You gotta remember what you're doing, Paul. You gotta remember. And so let's go back here. Test client. That's the name of our client we created. So check this out. We have a functional front end. Granted, it's pretty like anemic, but we have front end built with React, hooked up to GraphQL. We have our GraphQL working. We have our Strapi backend. Look how amazing this is. I'm going to add a new client. We're gonna call him UR and last name awesome. We're not returning the last name, whatever. It's no big deal. We're gonna save. I'm gonna publish. We're gonna go to our front end. We're gonna reload. You are awesome, guys. Test guy, we got test guy. So bam, right there. So to sum up and to end the stream, guys. By the way, those of you who powered through this amazing stream, like congratulations. Give you a big hand. Thank you guys. But most amazingly, what we're working on in the stream is that I'm gonna walk you guys through a cornerstone project that's going to be sick. And that's what Tech Rally said. We want sick projects. And by the way, guys, this is what we're gonna be. I already closed the thing that we were building. God damn it, I gotta open it again so I could run it. Ah, son of a, I gotta do it because those of you who kind of missed it. So I have this other project. Just give me a second because like it takes a moment to get it fired. But I want to show you the UI that we're going to be working on. Damn, Jose, you've been here all this time. I love you, man. And I just want to quickly show you what we're going to be doing, like the original app that we're kind of going to be recreating. And then we're going to review everything to close the stream. So just give me a moment. I want to pull it up just to give you context, guys. Okay, and 1 second, I got my front end starting. Let me start my back end. Why did I close it? I don't know. New. Yeah, I hate typing because I can't talk when I type. My brain just doesn't work that way. Now, okay. I'm just firing up this project so we could do a review. Okay, here comes. I got you guys. I got you all. You know what's up. Yeah, and thank you guys for all your support. Like, this channel would never exist if oh god damn it, I gotta turn off this other server that I'm running now. Give me a second, guys, because I'm using the same port. So we pretty much saw that we were pulling data from just so we could review. Let me just go back here. So we already saw that we created a front end. We're pulling data from our backend here, pulling data from our backend. So basically our front end and backend is connected. So I'm going to kind of close out of this because I'm not going to be running it here just because it's running on the same port. Control kill. Let me go here. All right, so let's do closing thoughts, final hour, and look at the app that we're kind of going to be building. Oh, it's not running on localhost 300. What? That's 301. 303 does. So quick review, guys. So here we go. Let me refresh this. Why? Oh, you son of a gun. Why you're... Now everything's breaking. Why is it breaking? Who knows? Error, log out. Okay, here we go. It's probably broken. I probably broke something. Like, you wish you could go like through the whole application without breaking stuff. So test user password. Okay, it's not broken, it works. So this is what we're doing. So here's the thing, guys. When you're looking to get a job, it's okay to have smaller projects, but at the end of the day, you should all have one cornerstone project and plan to spend 2 to 3 months on it. You know, like, I know it's a long time. Maybe you finish it in a month and a half, but you really need to create a solid project that has authentication, has this idea of a concept of a backend, being able to call the REST API, or in our case, we're using GraphQL, having a database attached to it, like we're using SQL, and then we're going to switch to PostgreSQL, run it locally, so we could then deploy it later on Heroku with Strapi, and then our front end on Netlify for our React application. So you want to have this concept of users. So we're creating a time management app, like a project management app. Here, if I log in, you should have authentication, and it helps when you type in the correct password. And once you're logged in, right, we have different organizations that we're part of. Every organization has its own project, and each project has its own tasks. You see, guys, right? Boom, we got our tasks showed on the bottom. We could add tasks. So this is still work in progress, right? But the point is, we want to make something. This one has a bunch of tasks. We want to build something that has really good functionality. It looks good. So this is what we're going to be working towards. This is obviously way more complex what we created together on the stream, but what we create on the stream is beginning to this application. And to review, we are using React, right? Let me go back here. I have to Google these things again. So to review, we are going to be using React. That's going to be our front application. On our front end, right, we're going to use Bootstrap React to style our application, right? We're going to be using Bootstrap React. It's like Bootstrap, but with React components. Now, our application needs to have routing. React by itself doesn't have routing. So we're going to use React Router. We're going to be using this, and I'm showing you all these links again because, guys, if you have a takeaway lesson today, learn to build a habit of reading documentations. What else are we using? We're doing GraphQL. So Google GraphQL, check out GraphQL documentation. What else are we using? We're using Apollo Client. Google Apollo Client. Find the documentation, read the documentation. For our grid, we're using AG Grid. Find the documentation and read for it. So what we did, we identified what we wanted to build. We want to build a project management tool that we want to be able to scale. We want to build it amazing. We want to have a bunch of users that only have access to the information they have access to. Once we defined the scope of our project, what did we do? We decided the technology that we're going to use. It's React and Bootstrap, React Router for our navigation, GraphQL for our querying our backend. We're using Apollo Docs to know how, like we're using Apollo Client, we're using Grid, and most importantly, I forgot, we are using Strapi. Strapi is it's like Bootstrap, it's Bootstrap, like, I don't know why Bootstrap kind of came out, but they called Strapi after Bootstrap, like this idea, strap an API, like create a quick API, so they called it Strapi. Amazing service. It's great because not only allows you to get started quickly with an API for backend, like you saw today, we created not only an API, but we created a GraphQL API, and we were able to connect to our front end, but it also allows you to customize the backend code if you need to add additional functionality. So using Strapi, learning Node.js, and then writing custom code is a great middle path if you're looking to transition into backend using Node.js technologies. And long term, what we're going to do, once this is all complete and working, we're going to rip out Strapi and we're going to add our own Node.js Express GraphQL server, which is going to be amazing. So guys, I just want to say thank you so much for joining. I'm going to hang out for another like 5 minutes or so. If you guys have questions, let me know. If you have any questions, Let me know if you guys enjoyed the stream. I'm still gonna do it, but I think you guys really liked it. I think you guys had fun. And so we're going to continue with the stream. We're going to continue on this path of building out our application. And the most important part, guys, is for you to know that you guys have to spend time coding. You have to spend time building. Because when you're building things on your own, yes, it's headaches. Yes, it's a lot of failure, but that is the best way to learn. It's the fastest way to learn, even though at the beginning it's going to feel slow as hell because you're constantly making mistakes. The reason why I wanted to do all this stuff live is so you guys could see that I make mistakes. I don't know everything. I am not perfect. I probably know less than a lot of you guys, but the point is I just do it. I execute. I try to build things, and that's the goal for you guys, is to continue to build things. So I'm going to be doing this live stream every Tuesday, 7 p.m. US Central Time. We did a vote. Some of you guys said 8 o'clock is a better time, but for me 7 is perfect, and we do have young kids here and I know they go to sleep, so I don't want to yell in the middle of the night. So it's a perfect time. And if you miss it, by the way, always come back and check it out. You will be able to always come back to these lives, watch them. And if someone is up for it, you could watch the stream and then type and one day I'll do it too. I am extremely busy. Sorry guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. But if you guys in the comments want to put the time codes for your favorite parts or break it down into time codes where I talk about certain things so it's easier to search, I would really appreciate it. But with that being said, guys, like, thank you to all of you, everybody who came here and joined me here tonight. I love all of you guys. You guys are the reason why this community is great. I am just some dude on the internet, but you guys are amazing community. You're like the bricks that build this house, that build this community. And by the way, if I kept forgetting, we do have Discord, and I meant to share the Discord link earlier. Let me throw the Discord link to our channel, and I'll hang out for a few minutes so you guys can hit the Discord link and join the Coding After 30 Discord channel. And I should have done it earlier. I don't want to leave the Discord link in the comments because I really want to only have the people that watch the content engage in the content, because I want the people in the Discord, they're going to engage with other people and work together on projects, work on achieving their goals and all this other stuff. And Jose, thank you so much. I really appreciate you following this channel. Ruther Roofer, thank you. You were on here forever. I'm glad that you guys were able to stick around for a majority of the stream. Sergey, thank you, brother. Good to see you here. I appreciate it. And guys, that's the Discord link on the bottom. Click it, go join the Discord, and hang out, get extra 5 minutes of watch time. But if you guys have any questions before we go, feel free to ask. Let me know. In terms of suggestions, you could definitely give me suggestions, but because the scope of this project is pretty big, we're just going to continue working through this project. And I know some people are going to jump like maybe 5 streams in, 6 streams in. It's okay. I'll still try to break things down and answer questions. But the point is we will continue moving, and then I will always refer to the previous stream. Hey, if you guys missed the stream, check out this stream, because very important is that you all keep moving forward. And Endpoint, brother, did you actually watch the whole stream? I appreciate you, my man. This project looks really helpful. What I like about so here's the thing, guys. I'm doing this, and it's going to be using Strapi and Node.js. Endpoint, he's working on a project that he's going to be working with C# and ASP.NET. And I think you guys should also watch his channel and watch his daily blog videos, because it's good to see the similarities and differences. And at the end of the day, you guys will all realize that once you know one language and you understand the basic concepts, you will be able to dive in and learn another language much faster. Just don't try to learn everything at once, guys. So, guys, man, as always, thanks so much for everything. Love you guys. With that being said, I'm going to let you guys go. And this was amazing. Making pickles is also very important. Yeah, but thanks for hopping on and giving us the last comment of the day. You making pickles, you're pickling pickles, you're taking cucumbers, putting them in the bottle. throwing a bunch of salt in there, and then you're gonna sit and wait for a while. Is that what you're doing? Making pickles? Man, I love me some pickled pickles. I love salt. I love pickled tomatoes. It's amazing. Some people like pickled, what do you call it? Watermelon, which I don't know how. But anyway, guys, as always, I could talk forever. I'm just going to say goodbye. Check out the full stream if you get a chance, if you're jumping on late. If you missed it, Tech Rally, thanks, brother, for your support. Always glad to have you when you're here. And we're going to keep doing it one day at a time, but I really wanted to get this live stream for myself because I want to make sure that I am doing coding stuff and not just YouTube stuff, because at the end of the day, I want to be the best developer I can be at my job, because that's how I make money. And I don't want to lose sight of my YouTube channel being a YouTube channel for developers and not for developer lifestyle and drone footage and fancy cars and all this other stuff, because to me, none of that matters. We don't have time to watch bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody's got time for nonsense. So you guys have to, because time you'll never get back. I'm 41 years old. The mistakes that I made in my 20s and early 30s, I'm still paying for them, but I'll never get back that time. So this is why this is so important to me, to really focus on the things that matter and the things that's important. So that being said, guys, because I'm going to talk forever, I just want to say thank you for everything. I'll see you guys on the YouTubes. I'll see you in the Discord. I'll see you on live on Saturday, 6 p.m. your Central Time, which is more fun time stuff. And then Tuesday, every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central Time is going to be this coding thing. And you're going to stick to this project, or everything is going to be discussed in context of this project. So anyway, thanks, guys. See you guys later. Oh, nap time. I'm just going to leave this running while I nap, because I hear it's good for watch time. Oh, goodness. Oh, it's so nice to rest. Oh, I wonder if I leave it for an hour, if it'll get watch time. Anyway, guys, no, seriously, I'm out. I'm leaving. I just got to figure out where that button is. Where's the goddamn button to close the stream? Oh, no. No. Exit stream. I can't do that right. I can't even end the stream. So here we go.